Blazing screens, chaos unfolds, crimson law, tales retold, anime wars, blades collide, justice screams, nowhere to hide. Crimson law, judgment reigns, sharp critique, breaking chains, blood red ink by the blade, truth unleashed for silverhead, elven babes. Elven babes. Neon skies, warriors clash, pixel worlds, honor smashed, battle cries, vengeance near, crimson's wrath, all shall fear. Thunder roars the verdict grim, mechs explode, lights grow dim, bloodlines torn, broken dreams, crimson law silencing screams. As heroes fall and villains rise, shattered dreams and severed ties, stand and fight, the time is nigh, rising up to do what's right. Crimson law, judgment reigns, sharp critique, breaking chains, blood red ink by the blade, truth unleashed for silverhead, elven babes. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. How are we doing on, well, for what for me is a very snowy and cold Saturday evening at the end of November. My area has gotten like 10 inches of snow. It's kind of a big deal. But it's been a shut-in day for me. That's how it has been. Hopefully, you guys are doing a little bit better. I hope you don't have the same weather issues that I'm having to deal with. But I know not all of you live out here in the boonies in Illinois, so it's probably not nearly that big of a deal. There's a lot to talk about tonight. So I have two manga to talk about a little bit tonight, and then I have three anime specifically to talk. Our usual going over of the posts and all of that we do. And then we have, the usual rankings of that we, all the weekly stuff that we do. But before that, hello chat. Muffler Tape, great title for this one. Yes, it was a layup pretty much. Jeremy Turner is here. Sup boys? It's just cold around here. It's always unpleasant when Jack Frost unloads on you. And then Marcel, pretending to be Obi-Wan Kenobi. How you doing, Red? All right, so I guess we might as well get cracking on this week's show. I mean, it was finally, speaking of weather, before we started, it was finally cold enough to, get the jacket back out. Since I stopped wearing it over the summer, since wearing a long sleeve jacket over the summer is just a recipe for making myself miserable. But yeah, I might as well get cracking on what we're going to talk about tonight. So, with that being said, let us pull up the first thing for the night. So this is Himegasaki Sakurako is a hot mess. And now I decided this kept getting pushed to me by advertisements. Like they just kept trying to like push this into my reading list on playbooks and all that stuff. It just kept popping up everywhere. So I was like, you know what? Fuck it. I'll give it a try. And I'm not going to lie, I'm not particularly interested in this story. And I have interesting feelings about it. So I should dropped, select score. I'll say average. I think I read 3 chapters. So, explaining a little bit of what this is. So, effectively, this is like it's a rom-com sort of manga where this chick on the cover here is our main character and she has a crush on her childhood friend. However, her childhood friend only sees her as a friend and falls in love at first sight with another one of the popular girls at their school the first day of high school. So right out the gate, you have this sort of weird love triangle thing happening where she is trying to like get his attention all the time and trying to like flirt with him, and she's like super jealous that he has feelings for this other girl and all that. And yeah, you could probably understand a little bit of why I wouldn't care to check it out. But more than that, it just didn't feel like it did anything super special that made me want to continue reading it. Sure, it is a fan service heavy series. Like you get a lot of, like panty shots and like cleavage and all that kind of stuff. But I don't particularly think that I want to stick around and watch the inferior version of Too Many Losing Heroines unfold. It's as simple as that. But if you do want something that's a little bit more on the raunchy comedy side, I know there are some of you who are out there who like that kind of stuff. This one does somewhat cover that niche. So there it is for you. Me, it's just kind of average. Other people may enjoy it a little bit more. The next one on the list is a little bit more my style. And this is Hunting in Another World with My Elf Wife. I need not explain myself. I refuse. So effectively the premise is that stereotypical Kirito looking protag-kun here gets mauled by a bear during a hunting incident, and a goddess decides to reincarnate him into into the world that she manages for whatever fucking reason. And he gets, slapped down in the middle of the woods, ends up meeting this really tall elf girl, and getting married to her, and then, setting off to try and find some bad guys who have been harassing the elven villages of the woods. So I will say I am 3 volumes into this one. I think it's a solid 7 for like an isekai manga. I don't think it's particularly like the most incredible thing, but I do like guns and like random trivia and stuff like that around like firearms and like their history. And you get a fair bit of that in here. I also enjoy the casual jokes that the goddess who reincarnated him works at a random hunting goods store in Arizona. And I kind of enjoy a little bit of like the commentary that it has about hunting. A lot of it does seem like it comes from someone who has experienced at least a little bit in the world of hunting. So it's not just one of those series that's written by someone who doesn't really know what they're talking about and is making a bunch of like ridiculous things happen just to sort of like cover for their inexperience. This one seems like you have an actual hunter writing it, and they do a pretty good job of making it seem like realistic hunting skills or tactics and know-how. I was cracking up at Crimson trying to keep a level tone while describing a love triangle story. It wasn't that hard because I only read a couple of chapters of that other one and then swore it off. I was like, yeah, I'm not going to finish this. I don't think I'm going to like it. But that's pretty much the manga that I have been reading this week. Most of my time has been dedicated to watching anime. As you guys know, we did Fictionology earlier this week, so I dumped a lot of time into finishing SAO, or at least the first 2 seasons of SAO. So I didn't get around to reading a whole ton. I kind of wanted to get to some Tokyo Ghoul, but that might be something that I'll have to talk about next week, as well as Cosmos. I do have those over there that I should read. I have a couple on my shelves that I should get into and check out. I don't know, maybe a cold Sunday after everything's been snowed in is a good day to do some reading. Who knows? But that kind of brings us to I guess the first big thing, like the first anime that we're going to talk about tonight. So, I think I mentioned that I was going to try and give this a try and see if my review of it from back in the day still kind of holds up. And I'm going to be honest, I still kind of feel like it does. We'll get to that one. We will get to that one. That's going to be later in the night. Share this tab instead. Damn it, I didn't mean to do that. Fuck, hold on. I got to pull that other tab back up. That was the wrong tab to close out. There we go. Bring this back around, share this tab instead, and there. Okay, this is what we're going to talk about first, Tales of Wedding Rings. So, first thing I do need to do is, readjust this so it more accurately reflects everything that I have watched on this. And now I have actually watched 6 episodes of this week. I went back and started it over again to give it a fair shot, so I wasn't just picking it up from where I had left off. I went and rewatched the whole thing, and honestly, that's about how I feel about it. 6 episodes in, it's a 5. And I think this, much like, I guess I've said this actually about another anime from this season, but this is kind of like an epitome of having good ideas, good concepts, and some genuinely good things in your story, but failing in execution in a lot of ways. I don't know what you mean. This is not an L take. Like this show just isn't all that good. So, here's effectively the problem that I have. And I kind of remember why I didn't really like this show to begin with. I'm giving it the full season. I am not dropping it here. I'm giving it the full season. At the very least, I'm going to watch through this first season since it has dubs, and we're going to see how it goes. But when it comes to this, I feel like this first season has been a lot of, half-baked arcs. Like, I have the same complaints about this that I did about Assassin. Except for in this, you actually have, titties and all of that, and Assassin doesn't. So it has that one advantage over Assassin. With Tales of Wedding Rings, I do like a lot of the concepts they try to deploy. The issue is, I feel like they don't do a good job of building up to those moments. I feel like it does genuinely like to speedrun a lot of things that other anime probably would have rolled out a little bit slower. It's kind of one of those things where, like, if it had slowed down and been more intensive on its like telling the parts of the stories that it covers and gone over things a little bit more, given it a little bit more depth to the world, the characters, and their whole part in the Legend of the Ring King, I feel like I probably would enjoy it more. But for the most part, a lot of it just kind of comes off as vapid and empty to me when they're trying to push some of the more emotional moments, when they're trying to talk about some of the big developments that they have. Now, I will say that I do like the girls. Like, Hime, she's nice, but I mean, we got Elf Girl over here who is awesome, and the fucking Titty Kitty. I will not discredit anyone for the Titty Kitty, okay? The very horny Titty Kitty. And that's one of the things that I do hear quite a bit about this show is that it gets better in the second season. But I feel, look, like I said, I keep saying this over and over again, but that's really like the big thing I have against this series is like I can see the parts of it that I genuinely like. I can see the parts of it that I would actually be praising if the execution were better. It just, in execution, it doesn't leave me satisfied with its storytelling. And that's the bigger issue to me than just Hime getting fucked 9 times. Sure, I appreciate a story that's actually, willing to let the protagonist get laid. I respect that. And that's not the problem. But, this one hasn't particularly done like a super special it doesn't have something that really makes it stand out aside from the horny thing. It just doesn't it doesn't scratch the itch. By the end of each like little arc that we've gotten so far, I've been kind of dissatisfied. And yet I still like under other circumstances would have really liked Sato as a main character, especially with the whole thing with the cat girl. Like he goes through this whole thing of I want to defeat you on my own power to assure myself that I am not just dead weight and to look cool in front of my wife. Like that's actually like good character writing. I just again feel like they don't really play it up the way it probably should be played up. I feel like there's a lot of things that just get cut in between these moments that probably would have gone to bolster these things. And we'll get into some of the stuff that, like, some examples of what I mean later in the night as we go through some of these other anime. Because pacing does really fuck an anime. And again, I keep saying this, like, there are plenty of good elements in this. Like, the writer clearly had some good ideas. It's just his execution wasn't the greatest. It's as simple as that. Like, I don't like the execution of this anime or this story so far. But I don't hate it. I give it a 5 because, like, right now, I'm not really feeling it, but I'm still going to continue to watch it because it's not horrible. So as compared to my original review of this, where I did really, really shit on it, I do have a more positive impression of it this time around. I don't hate it. I don't loathe it. But I don't know. I still don't get the hype for it. It comes down to that. I mean, yeah, the titties are nice. They're really nice. But again, the titties only mean so much to me. And it really depends. If I'm not horny, the titties do nothing for me. Okay? That's why a series needs to have some form of good writing or compelling moments to it. Like even hands off Kotasashi-kun. Like I'll admit that as I've gotten deeper into the series, I haven't been as impressed with it as I was at the start. But that's really going to depend on how I feel by the end of season 1. But like with Kotasashi-kun, like sure, I kind of enjoy it just for the fact that it's a little bit different than the normal ecchi series that I have consumed. But I will not say that it is amazingly written. I like that the protagonist has a spine and all of that, and Sato does in this too. So I respect him for that. Like he actually is willing to stand up for himself and everything, and show a little bit of backbone. And I particularly liked his whole moment in this latest episode I was watching, where like he insists on defeating the cat girl with his own power. Like he wants to improve and defeat the cat girl without using the rings. He's out here watching WWE. It's fine. It's not that big of a deal. So in the end, it's an all right show. Tales of Wedding Rings, I was probably too harsh on it, but I still don't think it is like as deserving of the hype as I hear a lot of people around me say. And now that being said, let's talk about this one, because I finally sat down and watched the whole thing. So this is Tatsuki Fujimoto 17 through 26. The anthology series with a bunch of his short stories put in there. And now this review is just kind of a formality for tonight. I'm not going to read through it. If you guys are really interested, you can go on to Criticlist and find my account at Crimson Law and read all of my reviews if you're really interested in that much. But I'm going to talk a little bit more in depth over here about this, since now I have finished it up. I will say that having watched this, there are some genuinely really good ones in here. I mentioned a couple of them that I thought were really good, like the one with the underwater piano and the mermaids. I thought that was pretty good. There was also, the whole thing with the vampire and the professional assassin who falls in love with him, and then Nayuta of the End was also pretty good. I liked those three in particular. Some of them were a little bit actually, I should say, what's the name of the one where I know it's something stops a bullet. I forget the guy's name, but that one was cool. Can you guess why the mermaid was my favorite? Because you're into vor. But if I had to say which one, if I had to talk about which one was my favorite, it would probably be the one with the vampire and the assassin. I thought that was probably my favorite. The piano one is a very close second. I think the first one, the one with the aliens, Sasaki stops a bullet. Yeah, that's a good one. The one with the aliens, I thought fucking sucked. I'm not gonna lie. I didn't really care for that one, and that was probably the one I was the least interested in of all of them. I was pretty weirded out by the last one, where it's basically just the two sisters drawing each other in the nude. But I respect that they went full on nudity for that one. They are all pretty well animated. Some of them are a little bit more comedic too. Like I believe it's called Love is Blind was the one where like the dude is just going through or just like ignoring everything, trying to confess to this girl. Biggles Mets, how you doing? Crimson, the new anime dub AI is almost as good as Amazon's normal dubs. Here's the thing, Biggles, those AI dubs are done by Amazon. Yeah, Akira is a fucking android. I know that. Woke up as a girl syndrome. I watched half of it and really disliked it. Found out later that it was the Chainsaw Man mangaka, and suddenly it all made sense to me. No, I did not keep watching. I just happened to know that Akira is an android, and I don't give a fucking shit about it. It changes nothing to me that he is an android, okay? You underestimate Biggles. You underestimate how much I loathe that fucking anime at this point. For it's stupid ass focus. Like, I stopped caring when it decided to continue doing the whole sibling love thing. That's not a high bar. But anyway, Tatsuki Fujimoto, yes. With Tatsuki Fujimoto 17 through 26, I enjoyed it. It's like one of those things where I do genuinely believe like you could sit down in an evening and just like binge through it and have a good time with it. There are some entertaining things in there. The animation's pretty good, but a lot of them do come off as pretty fucking weird. A couple of them are absolutely spectacular and worth a watch, but there are some ones that are just like genuinely. Yeah, well, Chibi's cringe. That said, though, we have a bigger fish to fry than Tatsuki Fujimoto's anthology series. And that is what chat voted on last week, which would be Ascendance of a Bookworm. So, here we go. Having watched through all 3 seasons of this, I think this is a fantastic anime. Gave it a 95 on here, and here is why. Pardon me. This anime is not what I was expecting it to be when I was on the outside of the fandom looking in. It slides into an interesting niche, not quite addressed by a lot of the other big name isekai. One that's not quite slice of life, not quite about nation building, not quite comedy, and yet still very wonderfully written story. Hey, Hero Darky Dark, how you doing? Fuji is 100% on some kind of drug based off of his writing. I think he's just fucking deranged, is what I think. We needed Trapped in a Dating Sim. Fuck you, Biggles. So yeah, to kind of go into a little bit of detail on this. So like when I consider like what I would put as the top 5 isekai, in my opinion, you would basically have, Mushoku Tensei, which does like a very good like high fantasy adventure sort of thing, as well as all of the family stuff and the message behind it. You have ReZero, which does a lot of like really good psychological stuff that I enjoy. Realist Hero does nation building, and Konosuba does parody and comedy. In between for like in all of that, I should say, somehow Ascendance of a Bookworm manages to be distinct enough from them, doing its own thing, and still sort of like touch on all of those other categories, except for I guess the psychological stuff with ReZero. Like it's not quite I don't know if I would qualify it as a slice of life isekai, because it's not necessarily, like just one of those stories that focuses on like Food Court would be more of the slice of life that I would think of. It doesn't really do a whole lot of nation building, so you can't qualify it like in like the same category as Realist Hero. It doesn't focus on comedy like Konosuba. It's entirely its own thing, and I like it for that. It does a really good job of kind of distinguishing itself with focusing basically on Mind's story. That is what this is. It is, it is the story of Mind. I don't know why you are so in love with Trapped in a Dating Sim, but congratulations. Anyway, so yeah, its character focus is its greatest asset. Like I said, being focused on Mine is a really good thing for this show. While Mine works as a great main character, and here's why: she is a competent and likable protagonist, but doesn't approach the territory of overpowered or Mary Sue. Them sounds like some fighting words. Okay, I will check this out eventually, but I am going to bed. I have been bombarded by dogs all day. I am tired. I cast my vote for Dating Sim so you can understand it. All right, so I guess we're putting Biggles' vote for the night as Trapped in a Dating Sim. I'm going to write that down. And we'll move on with the review. So, this is really important to me. Is this show strikes a good balance between making its main character competent and respectable, and not making her completely overpowered without any flaws to improve on. Throughout this whole thing, you do see that Mind genuinely runs up against hurdles that she has to overcome. She genuinely runs up against challenges. There are things that she herself cannot overcome, and there are things that she struggles with. Those are the parts that I think that really help make her a compelling character, because while she is good at certain things, she's not good at everything. And that's what makes a character good, in my opinion. Specialization, rather than just being flat out overpowered. Like, you can be really good at something, but at the same time, it shouldn't be really good at everything that they ever do. I'm actually going to talk about that first point there. That Bookworm is a little slow paced. Um, because I actually do think that is a strength to it, is the pacing of it. But to continue on here, while Mine works great as a main character, there are many supporting elements that only serve to prop her up even more as the focal point for the series. And while the network of well crafted supporting characters is one of those, and this does have a really good cast of side characters who, for what they are worth, play a good role in everything that happens and actually help to bolster the entire connection to the series. Um, the family element is in the first 3 seasons really helps to add some emotional connection to everything that happens. I feel like that's one of the big things that that got me to really really like this, was that family focus that this first 3 seasons has. Now I'm still probably going to like it as it goes forward, because there are a bunch of other things here that make it worth watching. But that was kind of one of the big things that it did really well, was just this whole thing with Mine and her family, and the regrets of never saying goodbye to her mother and all that. Those were genuinely good moments, especially at the end of season 3, where she is basically not basically, she is adopted into the Lord's family and all that. You're not quite going to have that same sort of family element going on, I don't think, in the next couple of in the upcoming season or seasons. But there, like, the political intrigue of it, the character writing, and some of the other things that it has been doing in the background will serve to supplement the thing that you are kind of moving away from. That's the mark of a good series there. And what I could argue is the big selling point of the whole thing. Still, even if that were set aside, the anime delivers a very well paced and perfectly executed story. Now, a lot of people, I think a lot of people would probably classify this as slow when it comes to pacing. I disagree. I think the pacing is kind of just right. It doesn't steamroll through a bunch of plot, but it also doesn't sit in, like, linger in one spot the whole time. And that's one of the things that can really turn me off of the show. And that's one of the problems that I have with um Tales of Wedding Rings, is that it just kind of goes through a bunch of stuff like it's full speed ahead. You get like one or two episodes for an entire arc that probably could have been spaced out with a couple of more to help develop characters and add some intrigue and all of that. But Wedding Rings didn't do that. The Bookworm did a very good job of covering just the right amount of stuff with every event to make it feel like you were getting a satisfactory pacing while also not sitting in one spot on its thumbs the whole time. There's a smooth progression from one series of events to the next, and I never had a complaint about the amount of detail or information that various plot threads got. Like, I always felt like it was done just right. Like, we got everything we needed out of that. It has just the right amount of focus to satisfy, well, not getting bogged down in needless elements. And it's a rare element among anime to do this, because I feel like a lot of anime do love to rush their pacing. They're dealing with shrinking attention spans and all of that. It's just, when it comes to my kind of storytelling, if you're going to give me a serious fantasy series like Tales of Wedding Rings attempts to present, even if it does have a more horny tinge to it, like Bookworm does present, Bookworm is the better presentation of it, because it's actually giving everything the time, giving the viewer the time to marinate in everything that's happening in order to actually get that fucking connection to the characters and the story and everything that's happening. And finally, while it may not really be a comedy, it does have its moments of levity. Mine herself provides a good bit of comedic relief with her commentary and reactions. Like I said, it does a lot of um I cited at the beginning of the review, where, like, basically when it comes to mine, or not mine, when it comes to the series, it does a lot, it dabbles in a lot of things that it doesn't quite fully commit to. It has its own kinds of world building, and it does a good job of developing those little bits that it does. It has its own kind of comedy that it does bring in here, but none of those is really the focus. It's not funnier than Konosuba. It's not more, well, the world isn't a better build than Realist Hero, but it still does those things well enough to make them satisfying in this show. Correct. This would be slow. In comparison to a lot of anime, and that's kind of like what I guess we're kind of saying the same thing. We just come at it from different perspectives. To end all this off, simply put, it's a very well written. From the political intrigue stuff to family matters, all the way to the story of the character herself. This series has a stellar performance. Like, this one's just all around fucking awesome. Like, Bookworm was absolutely fantastic to read. And to go over a couple of the comments in here that I didn't quite get to. So, I don't disagree with anything or with any comments anyone has said so far. Get hyped for the next spring, and the light novels rock. Marcel, I really like the slower pacing and love the characters, but last season went in a direction I didn't like at all with the adoption thing. Ruined the whole story for me. I feel like I disagree with a couple of things there. I feel like it was, the natural progression of everything was the adoption. Just with the story, with mine becoming more and more involved in society, eventually she was going to have to get adopted. That the writing had been on the wall for that for a while. I feel like it was a really like poignant moment to this whole series with mine basically seeing her family off like that. Um and it just overall does a really good job of wrapping up the whole family thing in, I guess, a bittersweet way. And I enjoyed that. I really liked it. It got me in the feels. It was kind of a painful way to end the latest season, but I don't mind if the story hurts a little bit as long as it hurts good. Okay. Well, that said, I basically have nothing else to really comment on for Bookworm until a little bit later. To me, Bookworm feels like it just got out of the first third of the story. I'm here for whatever they got coming after. Yeah. I think those of us that binged might feel differently because if we had to watch that weekly, I might feel like Marcel. That I guess that might be a fair observation to point out. But even still, I don't think my opinion of the story would have changed if I had been watching it weekly. I don't think. And with that said, we're going to talk about this upcoming anime, and we're also going to start taking submissions for tonight's poll. So keep in mind, there are only 4 slots. All of you who are in chat here right now are allowed to, put an anime on the list. Biggles has already put 1 there. It's just that only 4 entries can go on the list, and then the channel gets to vote on which one I'm going to watch next week. That being said, though, we should get into what won. So, with 44% of the total vote, Visions of Escaflowne has won. So that's what we are going to be watching this upcoming week. It's going to be really interesting because Escaflowne is one that I have wanted to watch, but not really have. I've not really had a good excuse to go over it. I'm assuming you're just going to recommend Rainbow Days anyway, Arceus. And then, of course, we got a Sabageru Survival Game Club. So that is 3 entries out of the 4. Again, anyone who is here live has the option to put their hat in the ring, or to throw their hat in the ring and try for a spot on the poll. That being said, it is time to move into the final segment of the night, and we will make our poll at the very end once we have collected submissions. So to explain, every week during these live streams, I allow chat to give suggestions. Here, let me Let me make myself bigger. And Jeremy Turner with the $10 super chat. I appreciate it, man. I am behind, so I'm gonna bounce to avoid spoilers. Dating sim. All right, well, good luck. We also got NHK. Anyway, before that, media assets. I have a clip here. We Let's freaking go! I appreciate it, Jeremy, and have a good night. Anyway, we also have welcome to the NHK, so I'll put that on the list, and then we'll go right back to explaining what I was talking about to Andrazi here. So every week I basically open up a poll, and since YouTube's polls only give 4 options, it's basically anyone in chat is allowed to put their suggestion for what they would want me to watch on the list. And I can only pick 4 of those. So if it's more than 4 options, I'll randomize it out of all the suggestions I get. And then those 4 options will go on the poll, which the whole chat can then vote on. And that determines, or the whole channel can then vote on, and that determines what I am going to be watching and reviewing live as one of the main segments here. So like last week, Bookworm had won the poll. And the options that ended up on the next one were Visions of Escaflowne, Ayori Aoshi, Ulsan Newbie Adventure, and Rainbow Days. So right now we have Trapped in a Dating Sim, Rainbow Days, Survival Game Club, and Welcome to the NHK. Basically, if you want to take a stab at subjecting me to an anime, this is your best shot. Because it's the one that I'm not just going to drop. I'm going to actually try and fucking finish the thing. Anywho, we're back to here. So this is where we left off our rankings for the season last week. Yeah. And we're going to go into it again. We're going to talk about all the seasonals, everything that happened this week. So that starts us out with may I ask for one final thing? And yeah, that's perfectly allowed. Everyone's been pushing Trapped in a Dating Sim for an eternity around here, hoping that it'll eventually win a poll. So kind of like I thought, in this episode, we basically get the Iron Prince coming back and offering an alliance with the kingdom. So that was something I kind of figured was going to happen. Scarlet apparently also has like this huge reputation among the soldiers of Von Kish, so they'll all see her and like the brutal bride. The brutal maiden, the brutal bride. They're all like celebrating her because the fucking prince has been talking her up this whole time. And of course, they have the whole strategy meeting in this episode of how they're going to deal with their impending doom, and then they deploy their players as needed. We do get a little bit more Scarlet action in this, like you would expect of our main girl going around punching the shit, in this case, out of monsters. She does attempt to flambe the Von Kish prince, but that doesn't really do much to him, and everyone just kind of takes it as like a token of affection and all that much to her ire. In terms of like major plot developments that happened in this latest episode, I don't think I can really say there was anything that was like super intriguing or super out of the ordinary. Pardon the Um, So yeah, I mean, I don't think there was anything like super out of the ordinary, super revolutionary, super like changed the whole thing. It just continued off of what we already knew. It didn't give us any major developments, and we got kind of like the big battle starts this episode. There are a ton of monsters that need to be dealt with. We do know that the Palmians are using their power to create intelligence, like super intelligent monsters, like the fucking Orc King that Scarlet ran into. But it was a consistently entertaining episode. It's one of those ones that just kind of maintained everything. It didn't really go up or down. Um, in contrast to that, we do have Tojima Wants to Be a Kamen Rider, and holy fucking shit, this episode was awesome. Uh, it's I literally have in my notes. It's so goddamn good. uh, like So the big points of this episode are that Tojima fights Yukarisu, um, and fights Ichio. And I think this is a respectable opinion to have Tojima as your favorite anime of the season. Like it's fucking good. It's so fucking fun. I enjoy the hell out of every episode of this that I watch. I need to delete my notes so I don't get lost here. I need to delete that, and we'll continue on with the Tojima stuff. So the Tojima versus Yukarisu fight was really funny because it was kind of short, but the whole point was that Tojima gets really excited over being able to fight an actual shocker. So he just pummels the shit out of Yukarisu in the opening of the fight, and that's it. And then yes, the makeout scene was great, but I also have to love Ichio like standing over them, like stand up, Mitsuba, it's time to fight. um, like I need to beat some sense into your horny ass. That's fucking. It was funny, and then the whole fight between Mitsuba and Ichio was just it was great. It was really well done. The whole corny aesthetic of these people like he's becoming more V3. What does he mean? He's becoming more V3. He's becoming more V3. It's so ridiculous. It's so great. It is so fucking epic at the same time. Like it's just good. I love the hell out of this anime. I mean, to anyone who is into anime and not watching Tojima Wants to Be a Kamen Rider, you are fucking missing out. I mean, this dude literally fist fought a fucking grizzly bear, okay? Every episode is so damn hype in this show. Yes. I love it. I love it so much. 10 out of 10 episode anyway, Crimson. Now you understand the tournament arc, what I was saying weeks ago. Yeah, you just kept saying fucking tournament arc, tournament arc, tournament arc. You weren't making any fucking sense. I didn't know what you were talking about, okay? Just. What you mean he's becoming more V3? He's becoming more V3. That's what he meant. That's some nice dirt you got there. He's just sitting here looking at everything like it's a fucking tokusatsu shoot. Like they're on set for Kamen Rider or something. I think objectively, Tojima Wants to Be a Kamen Rider had the best episode of the week. Like this is hands down the single best episode of the week. Like it's just nothing compares. It was so good. But that brings us down to Isekai Quartet. And we get the whole field trip ski day thing, so everyone goes to the mountains and all of that. Um, in the midst of everyone, playing in the snow and all that, Darkness gets herself entangled in a giant fucking snowball. And you know me, I like Darkness, so I enjoyed that. And then we have the whole shtick about the Winter Shogun showdown, where Otto manages to talk the Winter Shogun down, and Kakaitis gets mistaken for another Winter Shogun. So it was a really fucking entertaining series of events. But again, I don't think anything in there was like particularly like huge for me this week. It was just kind of one of those things where it was like entertaining. I got a kick out of it, and then I can move on. Next up, we have Ranma. And now, after going through Urusei Yatsura and watching that whole series and making my like review and my critique of it, I will say that like going back into Ranma, there are some certain things that I do have a problem with. And that is like this constant like tug of war over the direction of whatever relationship is going on in the series. The issue I'm starting to have with it is that it constantly wants to try and pull at Ranma and Akane the whole time, and they are being tugged in every which direction. And now, in this case, it feels like the reverse of in this case, it feels like the reverse of what Urusei Yatsura did. When it came to Urusei Yatsura, it was always Ateru who was the one chasing other girls around, or who was the one getting pulled in all the directions, while Lum was the one who was loyal the whole time. In this one, as much as he is part of the problem, it feels like Ranma himself is the loyal one in the relationship, and Akane kind of gets is the one who gets more influenced over all of this stuff. Like, it's kind of weird that they're so in denial towards each other, and it's a little bit frustrating that they're going to drag things out. And yes, shut the fuck up, you bitch ass pilgrim. Yeah, he was a dick today. Like, one of the frustrating things about romance anime can be the when the problem can be overcome very easily, but the characters don't. Like, in this case, literally the only reason that neither of these characters have gotten together, like the only reason Akane and Ranma aren't together right now, is the fact that they have their own pride to uphold. They're both tsunderes, in love with each other, incapable of admitting that they're in love with each other. And that's the frustrating part of it, though. I still enjoy the comedy that the show has, and I like the main character of Ranma more than I do Ateru. And yeah, the will they won't they thing can piss me off. It really depends on how it's done. In this case, it's just kind of it gets old after a certain point. Okay. Like, I get that, like, when it comes to romance, you do genuinely need to like challenge a relationship in a series to actually show some like growth and some commitment to it. But in this case, I'm not particularly impressed with how often they do it. It gets old after a while. So I'm moving that one down the list. Because while I do enjoy Ranma, I don't think it's more enjoyable than some of these other anime that I have here. Oh, go fuck yourself, you fucking troll. All right. So that brings us to Campfire Cooking in Another World. The Grill Quest episode, where I mean, it's kind of the anime's whole shtick. Yeah, I guess I can see it. So campfire cooking in another world. This episode is really focused on like the whole grill thing, where Makoto's trying to figure out how to get the grill that he wants made, and then you have the dwarf. I need to, the dwarves, I should say, the weaponsmiths in the area just don't want to give this man the time of day. Sorry about that. Camera comes back on now. There we go. Okay. So yeah, the whole, like I said, the whole grill quest, we do get a couple of like good things. And again, I do have to praise, like every time they go into like the cooking and stuff, you always get good animation out of this, like always. You end up with something that is like really well animated for the food and all that. I keep paying attention to it every time because it's one of those small little details that makes this one pop to me. We did get a bulk of this whole episode dedicated to the gods. It felt like half of it was, just him dealing with all the gods who had given him blessings and all of that. And sort of like dealing with the consequences of ignoring them for so long. And it was entertaining. But when it comes to the gods, the only ones that I find entertaining to have around are the wind goddess and the water goddess. And I mean the whole grilling thing they were doing, that actually made me pretty fucking hungry. I kind of wish I would have been able to eat some of that stuff. But that's the consistent thing with this show. And I feel like I have to keep making my comments on this short every week because it kind of does the same thing over and over again, but in a good way. Like it knows what it's good at, it knows what its appeal is, and it keeps applying that. It's really as simple as that. Of course, it's only the goddesses you like, fucking Gooner. Hell yeah, Gooner till the day I die, boy. Let's see here. I think I have a clip for that somewhere. Where is it? Right here.
理想的な柔らかさ、俺の美意識に間違いはなかった。
何をなさっておいでですか。
検品だ、検品。
All right. We'll move on to the next anime on the list, which would be My Friend's Little Sister Has It In For Me. So, this episode kind of continues along the lines of everyone has their struggles that they're dealing with lately. And in this case, it is Iroha's struggles. And Akitaro is going to have to get some things resolved before he can, move ahead with the projects that he's been working on, because he needs this girl in top form for her voice acting. Always inspect the goods. Yes, yes. Inspect the goods. Fondle the titty. Fondle it. Now. Find the nearest titty and just squeeze, okay? But basically, we do get to see, Iroha struggle with a couple of things, and we then move on into Akitaro dealing with the confession he got from Mashiro in the previous episode. And he takes her out for a date and everything, and then basically is like, I'm going to let you down as gently as possible. And she's like, you're here to reject me, aren't you? The producer girl, like, stepping in to stop Akitaro from saying some, unlike you, I don't do family like that. Such a fucking shut your ass up. But no. I kind of like that we're sort of like approaching like a good ending spot for this season, it looks like. Mashiro is like committed to like pursuing Akitaro, even though she knows that she that he doesn't love her at the moment. But it looks like we're gonna have to have Aki sort of deal with everything that's going on with Iroha. And there's also the scene where she starts acknowledging that like half the reason her confessions don't get through to him is because she keeps taking it back as a joke and messing with him and doing all this stuff. And like, yeah, I'm kind of fucking up here. I could be doing better, but I'm not. But overall, pretty good episode. I did really enjoy it. For a series that was potentially a love triangle disaster, it's turned out much better than I expected it would. That takes us to Yano-kun's Ordinary Days. And this one I have some interesting thoughts on this week because it's one of those things where I just kind of have to accept it for the ordinary days part of it that it is, rather than try and expect something that is bigger than that, I guess. So in all of this, we get, the study, this whole setup for the study days. Yano and why do I always forget her name? Yoshida. Yano and Yoshida are, basically going to be studying for their upcoming exams together. They have all their prep with their friends and all that. And the whole time, Yano is completely worried about his like heart rate, though, like through the whole thing. Like he's sitting there like, there's something wrong with my heart. Is it like a health thing or whatever? And then it was an all right episode. I wasn't going to complain about it. What I was going to say is, I guess I expected something a little bit grander out of this than just like an actual Ordinary Days thing. It really does sort of fall into a kind of like ordinary slice of life mode of operation. And there's nothing wrong with that. Don't get me wrong. It's still an enjoyable show. I still like it. It's just, I don't know, after like, the two main characters who are, the romantic interest of the series get together, I expected a little bit more to happen with that than has. But it's still been entertaining. Like I've still enjoyed the hell out of this. So I won't say anything bad about it. That said, though, let's talk Gachiakuta. So, I mean, upcoming stuff aside, like all of the animators who are supposedly going to be involved in this upcoming episode, or I mean, one of the upcoming episodes, aside. Glad you enjoyed it. Yeah. Okay. All right. I actually really liked this week's episode of Gachiakuta. So we got the whole thing where we got to see Deer and Bro's powers in action. And then, of course, the trash beast goes and stands up. Everything tilts sideways. And we get the fucking hilarious-ass car ride from hell. Where basically the one raider guy and our two cleaners are like in the car, like driving through all that stuff, trying to like survive and do everything they can. And now we're at the point where a couple of people have linked up. So Engine joins the group and Fu is there. So we have two raiders and three cleaners. It was kind of funny. Everyone's kind of gotten through to headquarters now, and it looks like you have an entire squad rolling up on this giant ass trash beast. But I think the highlight for this was just the stuff with Rudo and Zoldil. Where Zoldil is like, your goal is to get revenge on the people of the sphere, to make their lives miserable the way they made yours miserable. If that's your goal, you should work with me because it is the most efficient way to go about things. And Rudo is just like, nah, I think I'm going to stick with the homies. Fuck you. And I am a little bit upset that they did censor Rudo flipping Zoldil the bird. But that's not like the biggest thing. Like the ending of the episode of like their clash beginning where Rudo and Zoldil are like starting to throw hands and everything as they're falling. And Zoldil is like, so where is this team of yours now? And Engine just comes crashing through the fucking wall like, I'm right here, bitch. That was a good moment. Like genuinely the kind of stuff that I love to see out of this anime. So hats off to Gachi Akata for its latest episode. I was very happy with it. All right. Inexpressive Kashiwada and expressive Ota. Now, this is actually one of the better episodes of this series that I've seen for a while. So we get a new girl in this one who is ironically can read Kashiwada very easily, but has a terrible time trying to figure out what the hell Ota is up to. So that adds a level of entertainment in the first bit that I really enjoyed. Then, of course, we get the tennis match with like Ota and Tachibana going at it over, or I forget her name. The other girl, the angry girl, going at it the whole time. And just Kashiwada being completely incapable of like doing anything the whole time. And there was even like the part of the game where it was just Tabuchi, that's her name, Tabuchi, and Ota going back and forth at each other the whole freaking time. Tabuchi getting domed by her own teammate. And then, the final thing where we learn that the new girl is completely incapable of reading anything on Ota's face because she completely gets wrong what he's thinking. But she's entirely right about Kashiwada, so there's that. I enjoyed it. This was honestly like the new girl livened this this series up for me a little bit and made me sort of like start to enjoy it a little bit more again because my interest was kind of starting to fall off with it. I feel like that episode was a really good clincher for it. Then we have a wild last boss appears. So Dina was in fact Venus. So like I'm still laughing my ass off that just off of a vague vibe, I was pretty close to accurate as to what the series was going to do. So yeah, Dina turns out to be Venus in this. And we also find out that Dina is another player. A beta tester, actually. Someone who didn't actually play the game, but observed a lot of stats and all that. So they have this whole battle between the two players, and Dina very quickly finds out that the difference between a beta tester and someone with actual experience in the game is a very vast gulf that isn't easily crossed. We also do get the official announcement that someone has summoned a hero from another world to this one. We get a bit of a clarification that this is not the world of the game, but of the novel system that was incorporated into the game. And in the end, I kind of like how they resolved everything with this, with basically Dina being allowed to stick around. So I appreciate that. We're like, they're going to start working together and kind of resolve the whole thing in an amicable way. So I'm pretty happy with that episode. Again, I don't think that this is like the most amazingly animated thing out there. It's decently entertaining. But it's cool. It's cool. So a star brighter than the sun would be the next one on the list. I'm getting kind of frustrated with how much this one keeps edging that confession. Like they keep teasing it every fucking episode. Like, I'm going to tell him how I feel. 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 And it never fucking happens. It's starting to really piss me off. But we do get the whole fun rigmarole with like the committee stuff, with everyone basically being with some people being assigned to that. So we have the red-haired dude basically getting paired up with glasses girl. I forget their names. And she is the one doing all the work while he's running around doing fuck all and getting chewed out. And that results in a spat between the committee members. Meanwhile, red-haired guy, Isawa, I believe his name is asking Sui out. And, you know, it was a very comedy-centric episode. And there were some good character moments, too. Like, both Subaru and Kamishiro, like, basically instantly assuming that Iwa would not be the one to, like, do petty shit like drawing on someone's art contest entry. And I'm hoping that we do get an end of season like confession out of this, because if not, I feel like I would have just kind of wasted a bunch of time. I ship Iwa and Ayukawa. I'm pretty sure you're going to end up disappointed, but you know, it's whatever at this point. I don't know. I kind of feel like this one is edging, and as long as we're talking about edging elements of the show, that brings us to a good place to start commenting on Unlimited Gacha. Now, I know this is probably an unpopular opinion, but I do enjoy this show. At times, I will not tell you that this is like the most amazing thing anymore. I will not tell you that this is some like fantastic work of art or whatever. There are times where it's really good, where it's really satisfying. There are other times where it's not. I feel like it would have been far more interesting if it wasn't just Light constantly like having like all this OP stuff around him and all that, and working out all of these plans to get his revenge against the people who wronged him. It would be much more interesting if he hadn't basically spammed the Unlimited Gacha for years on end to get a ridiculously powerful army on his side. The Maestro rollout, which is like a core part of this whole series story, has been disastrously bad. And overall, like, I would not praise a lot of the elements outside of it just being like a well-animated, satisfying revenge. It's well-animated and it has a satisfying revenge element. Those are the two things that I would pick out to say good things about this show. Otherwise, I don't particularly care. The side characters are meh. The main character kind of sucks. I don't particularly care about the story of the world or anything that's going on. I'm literally only here to see the fucking the wolf and the elf get shredded, and that's where my fucks disappear. That's when I am out of fucks to give about this show, is when the elf dies. That said, we're getting closer to that, and I kind of enjoyed this latest episode of them all getting basically baited into the revenge quest. So it's cool. It's cool. All right. My awkward senpai would be the next one. Or as Jeremy Turner likes to call it, my autistic senpai. Did Chitose have a new episode? I guess I must have missed it. I will probably have to pick that up next week. I mean, I did watch the side stories for it. I didn't particularly care about them. But that's a comment for another time. So I'm probably not going to talk about Chitose this week. So my awkward senpai. So we get yeah, I guess. It gave a few little small blurbs about him going to buy the light novels to like make the conversation more genuine and put everything into it. It's all right. They were all right. So this whole episode can basically be summed up with there is jealousy from both ends, as Kanawa and I forget his name, Kageshi. Senpai and Kohai are basically jealous of each other because Senpai sees Kohai with who I'm assuming is his younger sister because similar hair pattern and someone who's very friendly with him. Meanwhile, Kohai sees Senpai talking to a colleague and just being really happy and everything. They both basically get jealous of each other. And you have the whole episode of them like trying to figure out the other person, and like it ends with drunk Kanawa, going berserk and having a crying fit and everything in the middle of it all. And then Kohai finds out that the person he's been jealous of was a woman the whole time. So it was an endearing episode, but probably not my. Like I keep saying, like this show probably just isn't for me as much as it is for everyone else. Hands off Kotesashi-kun. So we don't just get the volleyball girl herself in all of this. We get the whole volleyball team this episode. So it's probably the way to go about it. Kotesashi massages a lot of women in this episode, and they all have happy endings. But then he has to, hear out the volleyball team captain's doubts, who is, the girl on the cover there with him, and listen to, all of the things that like she's troubled with. And in payment, she offers to, give him a massage too. And he finds out that she's an absolute natural at using her hands. So we'll see what lewd things that they're going to suggest in the next episode. But I guess it was a decent one overall. I mean, like I said, this show doesn't really progress much of a plot. It's really more so just short blurbs of, hey, how many times can we sneak in orgasm jokes? All right. Getting down to the end here. We got 3 left, and that brings us to Alma Wants to Be a Family. So with this one, I liked the kidnapping thing at the very beginning of the episode. Like you have the whole thing of like the girls and all that, like basically like trolling the shit out of this kidnapper to the point where he actually like gives up on crime and gets a proper job at the end of the whole thing. I liked that, like genuinely thought it was good. I also liked the whole like sticker book thing. I enjoyed that part. And I think the issue that I have had with this this series, the reason that it's kind of fallen off for me is the more extreme stuff that they have been doing. Like you had the giant bear toy in this episode. That's the kind of stuff that I think has turned me off from this episode. I've kind of felt the same way the past couple of weeks. Like I enjoyed the kidnapping thing in this episode and the stickers, like the normal slice of life stuff with Alma, I find much more watchable than when they're dealing with like the ridiculous zany stuff of like going to the moon or fighting giant robots. Like that's less interesting to me than just the normal slice of life stuff that this show does. So I'm kind of disappointed to like see that they have kind of gone the way of like dealing with the ridiculous stuff as we've gotten deeper into it. Well, this is why I think it would have been great to like have all that slice of life stuff. Is just, you have this robot experiencing human life. You could have some really fun stuff with that, some really cute moments out of that. But no, you don't get a lot of that. It's mostly just absolute. Oh, another thing that I thought was that I didn't enjoy was the whole school thing. Like, I wasn't a huge fan of that. Huh. Yeah, this anime is going to stay down here, even though I did kind of like this episode more than other ones. Dad's the hero, mom is a spirit, I'm a reincarnator. That's the next one on the list. And now, okay. Hey, Roman, how you doing? How you doing, buddy? Yeah, I kind of agree with like the at-home stuff. I didn't like it when they converted the entire school and all that. I thought that was kind of meh. But like just the normal school stuff, like where Alma is like with friends and all that, like I enjoy those. But yeah, so dad's a hero, mom's a spirit, I'm a reincarnator. This anime has me a little bit tilted here because for a while I had felt sorry for Sawvel, the younger brother. Like he just kind of got screwed in everything up until this episode. And in this episode, Sawvel is just a piece of shit. The uncle is a fucking piece of shit in this episode. RG Energy with the $5. I appreciate that. You're the GOAT, brother. Keep up the good work. I appreciate the sentiment, but I would not call myself the GOAT. Just an idiot with a microphone and a webcam. And too much time on his hands. So, like, the fact that Sawvel has basically been just neglecting his own daughter and wife, like, I can kind of understand the wife, so I won't rag on him too much for that. But his own daughter has basically just been neglected because he's jealous that his niece is a much more likable girl than his own daughter. Like, that's so fucking awful. Like, I feel so bad for, like, come on, bro. Yeah, pull your head out your ass this next episode and do something to try and bring your family back together. Like the whole reason you're in this position is because you let yourself be in this position at this point. Like there's no reason for you not to be this way. I mean, sorry, there's no reason for you to be this way still. Like, get over it. I feel really bad for Raphaelia. Because she's the one who's constantly like being compared to her cousin who is doing all this crazy stuff, and like Sawvel is a much better, like is so much like more caring towards the cousin than his own daughter. And what I'm really hoping is that what I'm really hoping is that Ellen chews his ass out for treating her that way. Like he deserves a good licking for being a dickhead this whole time. So he pissed me off this episode, and now really the only thing I'm looking forward to is him maybe being able to lock in and fix his family situation. And that brings us to the last one. Sanda. I hated this episode. I fucking hated this episode. So really the big problem that I have with it is the whole like stripping scene. Like I that kind of weirded me out, man. Like the two girls getting naked together, it was just And the show overall is another one that hasn't quite lived up to what I was hoping for. It decided to try and pursue this message that it wanted to center its entire narrative around of youth and adulthood and growing up and all of that stuff. At the same time, we do have the Santa training and all that going on, but really the big part of it is Santa becoming Black Santa and all that. And the whole thing of trying to deal with this girl who's trying to kill him and all that. It's just, I don't know. I couldn't get into this latest episode. I haven't been able to, but whatever message they're trying to push with it, whatever the narrative is centered around, I'm not into it. I was hoping that we would kind of get this episodic adventure of Santa running around the world, just, helping kids out, with random stuff and, doing the whole Merry Christmas and off into the sunset kind of thing. No, that's not what I ended up getting. It's just, I can't, I would probably never touch this one again once it's finished. But that said, there's one more thing I do need to do. One more thing. So there's a reason for this. Okay, that's going to be the last thing I do for the night. So I'm going to screenshot this and make this small and go on my final rant. So there's a reason I'm putting the vampire can't suck in bad. It has nothing to do with peer pressure or any of that. It literally has to do with I completely forgot it existed this week. And when I realized that I hadn't watched the latest episode, my reaction was not, oh, I should go catch up on that. It was, whatever. Which is a subconscious acknowledgement that it's not really super worth watching the show. So it goes the way of the dodo on the list. It's going in the bad category. The only reason I continued to watch it in the first place after the first episode was because of the whole chibi thing. And I like chibis. But I don't know. It's not particularly oh, wow, look at this. Oh, I got to keep watching this. It's so fucking peak, man. It's so good. No. It was something I liked for a dumb gimmick, and that's about it. So I'm done with Little Miss Vampire Can't Suck. I'm moving on. That said, we're going to move into the last part of the night. So, create post. If anyone who has not given a suggestion for the list would like to put their entry on here for now, well, now is your chance to enter the poll for the week. However, if nobody has anything to add to the list, the entries that go on it right now are Trapped in a Dating Sim, Rainbow Days, Survival Game Club, and Welcome to the NHK. That is all 4 options. If we don't have anything else to put on the list, That makes it easy. We don't have to raffle this. It just everything goes on there. But for now, this is where we are. So let's see here. I guess we'll just start throwing things on here then. So since Jeremy, I think, donated $10 earlier saying he was throwing his behind Trapped in a Dating Sim, I am most definitely putting that one on there. It doesn't look like we have any other options though, so Rainbow Days. Survival Games Club, and Welcome to the NHK. And I should verify that the Survival Games Club one is correct. Get the full title on there. Sabagebu. Okay. So I think I'm going to close out our entries for the night at that. And that poll will, of course, go live a little bit after I close up this stream here. So, that being said, we'll take this down and we will close out the show. So, going back to work this upcoming week. So I don't know how things are going to go yet. Although I think I will start doing like in-depth video reviews of the shows that you guys have recommended me on these streams. So I'm probably going to make a Bookworm video next week. And then I'll probably also do Emuuza next week. Wednesday will be the Crimson News Network. We got a lot to talk about since we skipped Crimson News Network this week for Fictionology. We'll be going over some of the stuff that has happened in these last couple of weeks there. And, of course, Monday, if, everything stays the same, the Biggles Breakdown over at Biggles Mets channel. That being said, a lot of you have a good evening. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and hopefully it's not too rough going back to work. Peace.